This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Friday, the 26th day of January in the year 2024. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. As the curtains came down on the national budget debates this evening, the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Norton, hammered the government over its failure to prioritize defense and security in the context of the ongoing threat to the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity from Venezuela. As he addressed the National Assembly this afternoon, the opposition leader questioned the rationale behind the government's failure to have an integrated defense and security strategy, which prioritizes the protection of Guyana's territorial integrity and the threats from Venezuela. He said the issue should have been a priority one in the budget.
One would have expected that spending on the following matters would have merited a dedicated section in the budget speech. A stronger military, enhanced diplomatic capability, more robust border protection, special programs for border communities, and a Venezuelan migrant resettlement policy, but not with the PPP shouting. But none of those that I have mentioned can be found in the budget. The budget leaves much to be desired when it comes to the protection of our territorial integrity.
Mr. Norton said the inattentiveness to the country's foreign policy has led to the downplay of diplomacy as the country's first line of defense, pointing to the delay in appointing ambassadors to Brazil and Venezuela. Falling short of naming the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, the opposition leader said his acceptance of a gift that degraded Guyana's ownership of the Essequibo is sufficient reason for his removal from the process that birthed out of the Argyle Declaration. According to Mr. Norton, the action of the CARICOM leader raises serious questions about his suitability to remain fairly engaged in a neutral way in the follow-up to the Argyle Declaration.
We wish to inform this House that we do not have confidence in his leadership. It is not in the interest of Guyana for that particular Prime Minister to be involved in the follow-up to the Argyle Declaration. Thank him for the service given before, but let him move on. Our confidence that the seriousness of the Essequibo is fully understood by this government is very low. This is a point of concern because the budget does not give clear enough signals that all appropriate actions will be taken to place our citizens in a stronger position to invest and enjoy life in the Cinderella County.
The opposition leader said Essequibo, being the largest region of the country, must be seen as a priority, noting that there must be a clear strategy to engage Guyanese in communities bordering Venezuela so that they are engaged, conscious, secured, trained, and committed to ensuring Essequibo continues to be part of Guyana.
We cannot just hope. We must use the resources of this country to achieve these noble objectives. Merely saying Guyana is we own will not allow us to achieve those objectives. We need a plan to ensure Essequibo continues to be we own.
And the opposition leader also made a case for there to be a well-designed and articulated economic diplomatic strategy aimed at promoting and protecting the country's territorial integrity and for the enhancement of the capabilities of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to implement such a strategy. Throughout his contribution to the budget debates, the opposition leader raised a number of other issues, ranging from the budget being anti-poor, anti-working class, lopsided, and heavy on public infrastructure, to the need for there to be a people-centered development strategy and the effective management of the country's newfound wealth, oil and gas. But Minister with responsibility for finance, Dr. Asha Kissun, in closing off the debates this evening, told the National Assembly that the proof of the pudding is in the eating and that actions speak louder than words. He said over the last 5 days, the Assembly was regaled with nothing but cheap talk from the opposition, with lofty promises, though it failed to deliver on those promises during its time in office. The Finance Minister said unlike the APNU-AFC, the PPP government will deliver the projects and programs included in this year's $1.146 trillion budget. More news coming up in just a moment.
my lord. I just love to shop in this store. My customers, them gonna love all these things. So many different things in one place. Household items, electronics, toys, stationery, confectionery, exercise equipment, shoes and clothes for men, women and children, school things, costume, jewelry, perfume, makeup. Oh, look the makeup.
Giftland Office Max, Guyana's favorite department store.
It's your time to win big. The Massy Stores Christmas jackpot promotion is back and bigger than before. Spend $5,000 at any Massy Stores to be the lucky winner of a brand new MGZS and fantastic weekly store prizes from now until January 31st, 2024. What are you waiting for? Head to your nearest Massy Stores to shop now. See our Facebook and Instagram pages for more details. Massy Stores, our family serving your family.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Bust the flavors. We're full of flavors. Bust the flavors, that my crave for. We're full of flavors. Tell your neighbors about the bust the flavors. Grab a bust the flavors. Yeah, thirst buster. Grab a buster. Bust the flavor, taste the savor. Bust the flavors. Bust the flavors.
Well, the former chief executive officer of the Lyndon Hospital, Rudy Small, has been ordered to pay nurses at the hospital a total of $20 million in damages and to issue a public apology in 2 daily newspapers and on social media over defamatory statements that he made against the nurses. Back in 2021, protests erupted at the Lyndon Hospital and across the town of Lyndon after the then CEO, in an interview, told the reporter that nurses from the hospital would sign in for duty and then leave the hospital to go spend the night and have sex with their sweet man. Furious nurses launched a protest and were joined by community leaders and residents. The CEO was removed from his post and transferred to the Ministry of Health, but was then sent back to Lyndon to continue serving at the hospital in the same position. He then issued an apology for his statements being made public. The nurses, through the Guyana Public Service Union, said an apology was never extended to them for the actual statements, and they decided to move ahead with a class action lawsuit against the CEO. Small resigned from the job eventually in 2022, but the court case followed him. In her ruling, the acting Chief Justice found that the statements made by Rudolph Small were in fact defamatory, and he was liable for those statements. She ordered that he publishes an unequivocal letter of apology to the nurses in 2 national newspapers and on a social media platform, Facebook, on or before the 16th of February 2024. He has also been ordered to pay damages in the amount of $20 million, together with court costs in the sum of $500,000. The Chief Justice ruled that if he fails to issue the apology as directed, an additional sum of $20 million is to be paid by way of further damages. Just recently, in another case related to the protests over the same issue, the High Court found that it was unlawful for the hospital's management to deduct money from the salaries of the nurses who were on protest, and ordered that all of the deducted money be paid back to the nurses. The government has since indicated its intention to appeal that particular ruling. Well, leader of the New Movement Party and joined the list representative in the National Assembly, Dr. Asha Kissun, today decried the state of the health sector in Guyana, declaring that it is contributing to the exodus of nurses and doctors from the system, even as she acknowledged that some progress has been made. Contributing to this year's national budget debates, the Deputy Speaker, who is a medical doctor, said healthcare professionals in the country need to be better compensated for the work that they do.
In the public health system, Mr. Speaker, our salaries are not competitive on a level of the Caribbean. The doctors have made continuous pleas for this to be met. Mr. Speaker, we acknowledge that there is much to be done. We say that the health sector's budget is very good, it will benefit the people, but consideration should be made for the points that I have raised.
Dr. Kissun's statement irritated Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony, who stood on a point of order requesting that a doctor provides evidence to back up her statements. Though his point of order was ruled out by the Speaker, Dr. Kissun said any doctor could be contacted to verify her statements about the state of the healthcare sector in the country.
Mr. Speaker, standing on truth, I will submit that document from the doctors. I will submit it because I would not stand and lie to this honorable house. I am bringing awareness on what is happening.
She also said doctors sometimes work 12, 16, and 24-hour shifts for a mere $4,000, which is taxed, with no overtime being catered for them. The Member of Parliament said a document was submitted to the Health Ministry, outlining the issues that doctors are facing in the country. But there has been no response, and the concerns of the doctors have been ignored.
It is not simply because there's better opportunity outside. Most of the times, Mr. Speaker, it is because when they make a plea for the minimum to be done for them, it is met with deaf ears.
The government has indicated its intention to build several new hospitals over the next 2 years across the country, even as there are calls for the already established hospitals to be properly outfitted with the equipment, medication, and support needed for the health professionals to function effectively. Guyana's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Hugh Todd, has made it clear that Guyana remains committed to good neighborliness with Venezuela, even as it maintains the border controversy case before the International Court of Justice. Minister Todd and a high-level government team met in Brazil on Thursday with the Venezuelan Minister of Foreign Affairs and his team. The meeting was a follow-up to the Argyle Declaration and last December's meeting between President Irfan Ali and Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Following yesterday's meeting in Brazil, Guyana's foreign minister told the media that Guyana is committed to advancing good relations with Venezuela in the interest of both countries.
And while we wait on the judgments of the court, and here is where the Argyle Agreement is very integral, that we can continue now to work on those areas of common interest. Because the court will come and will pronounce, we will still have to move on. It's not the end of the world. We are working towards ensuring that we have a continent that is fully integrated.
The Foreign Affairs Minister said Guyana and Venezuela have had a number of agreements in place in areas such as agriculture and infrastructure. To this end, he has proposed that the two nations build on those agreements. He also commended Brazil's leadership in revitalizing the integration movement on the continent of South America, noting that Guyana is committed to the continental destiny.
There are common areas which we've agreed upon since 2013, which we can actually start working on because they are common interests. We've already shared a mutual agreement on those areas, which I have presented and which I've asked my colleague and counterpart to transmit to his government on his return.
Minister Todd described the meeting in Brazil as a good start and said the two sides are looking to meet again within a reasonable time to continue their dialogue, which he hopes will be ongoing.
We're leaving here today with an understanding of where we are and where we need to be. We're going back to headquarters, Georgetown, to continue working on advancing our neighborly relations with our neighbor to the west, with support and facilitation from our neighbor to the south, that being Brazil, and also with oversight and support from our interlocutors, that being the United Nations Secretary General's Secretariat, as well as CELAC.
The Foreign Affairs Minister said the meeting in Brazil shows Guyana's commitment to the United Nations Charter. The Venezuelan delegation also reported that the meeting was a good one. Venezuela has been trying to get Guyana to discontinue the case before the International Court of Justice. But Guyana has maintained that the border controversy case is properly before the International Court, and that is where it will remain until a judgment is handed down.
Twice the fun, twice the thrill. On your next trip with Copa Airlines, stop over in Panama and enjoy 2 vacations in one at no additional airfare. Because to live life at its fullest, first you have to stop. So next time you fly Copa Airlines, stop over in Panama at no additional airfare.
Viva Decor, stock the finest in the country. Both ceramic and porcelain, tiles and chandeliers you'll see while you shop around stress-free. Well-trained staff and warming halls make your shopping smooth and calm, providing you with quality to match your style that's so unique. Viva Decor.
Look at the breathtaking beauty of the Essequibo. From its pristine rivers to its abundant resources, it's a treasure that belongs to Guyana, and we ask Venezuela to respect the rule of international law.
Our commitment to this land is not just about ownership. It's about preserving its beauty and resources for our people and future generations.
The controversy between Guyana and Venezuela was settled internationally as full, perfect and final in 1899. Essequibo belongs to Guyana.
Attorney General and Legal Affairs Minister Anil Nandlal today announced that a number of judicial appointments will be made soon to increase the number of magistrates and judges in the country. At the time, the Attorney General was offering his support of the government's 2024 budget during the budget debates.
Speaker, the Judicial Service Commission has been appointed, and this year, Mr. Speaker, appointments are going to be made. 6 Justice of Appeal will be appointed. 9 puisne judges will be appointed to the High Court. 2 commissioners of title will be appointed, and 10 magistrates will be appointed, bringing the total magistrates to 29, and new posts have also been created to accommodate for the large intake of cases.
He said a number of new magistrates' courts are also being constructed in various parts of the country. The Attorney General told the National Assembly that the rule of law and an independent judiciary are the foundation upon which modern societies rest, adding that no nation can progress economically and people cannot be socially advanced unless those prerequisites are in place. With this in mind, he said the government is working assiduously to create a modern legislative framework, as well as a strong legal institution and systems, and in keeping with its manifesto promise, the government will take the necessary steps to reform the Constitution, starting with the appointment of the Constitutional Commission.
And very shortly, Mr. Speaker, His Excellency the President will appoint that commission.
The Attorney General also said before the end of the first quarter of this year, his chambers will conclude the revision of the laws of Guyana.
Within the first quarter of this year, we will publish the new laws of Guyana. Also before the first quarter of this year, we will publish the Guyana law reports for the year 2008 to 2020.
Among the laws being reviewed and crafted are the Sexual Offences Act and the Evidence Act. The government, he said, will also be moving to construct another Hope and Justice Center at Virgin Regent on the east bank of Essequibo to complement the recently commissioned center at Lusignan on the east coast of Demerara.
And it will provide a unique combination of services never provided in this country before. You will have social and counseling services, you will have legal services, you will have medical services, you will have police protection, you will have restorative justice services, and you will have accommodation. And the persons we are providing all these services for are the victims of domestic violence, the victims of trafficking, the victims of sexual violence, and the victims of child labor, the most vulnerable part of our society.
The Attorney General also said a new building to house the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions on the Niming in Region 2 will be completed by the end of the year, while a Deeds and Commercial Registry building will be constructed at Suddy, and another is to be built at New Amsterdam. It was also disclosed as well that government hopes to conclude arrangements for a new headquarters for the Deeds and Commercial Registry in the capital city of Georgetown. We turn our attention now to the housing sector. The government, through the Central Housing and Planning Authority, plans to distribute 10,000 house lots this year, according to the minister within the Ministry of Housing and Water, Suzanne Rodriguez.
And Mr. Speaker, for this year, 2024, 10,000 house lots will be delivered to Guyanese of every income category.
To achieve the objective, Minister Rodriguez said the government will continue to invest in the development of its housing program, which has seen the acquisition of 51 new areas by the Central Housing and Planning Authority for housing development. She said the results have been remarkable, with more than 30,000 Guyanese being allocated lands over the past 3 years.
Mr. Speaker, 30,355 Guyanese are now landowners and homeowners. 13,834 women are empowered with ownership and can chart a course for their own lives. 16,094 young people are asset owners and now have their entire lives to build up their net worth. They said we were talking in percentages, so I'm not talking in percentages. I'm giving you real figures. I'm giving you numbers. 28,016 people received low, moderate, and middle income house lots. 28,000 low, moderate, and middle income families received their house lots in 3 years, Mr. Speaker. In 3 years.
Minister Rodriguez said the government has provided low, moderate, and middle income homes, including young professional homes, to Guyanese, and has also provided a number of relief measures, like mortgage interest relief and steel and cement subsidies to first-time home builders. According to the minister, the impact of the housing program is being felt in the construction sector, which has seen increased production by 26.8%.
NBS, I'll use 3. NBS in 2020, the total mortgage portfolio was $3.5 billion. $3.5 billion. You know what it is today, Mr. Speaker? $19 billion. NBS alone. One institution, one. GBTI, July 2020, $6.2 billion. 2020 treated, Mr. Speaker, in 2023, the total housing loans at GBTI value $15.8 billion. At Demerara Bank in 2020, $9.7 billion. 9.7, July 2020, I'm giving them the raw figures for when they were in government. July 2020, $9.7 billion. December 2023, $21 billion.
And the Minister of Housing and Water, Colin Crowe, told the National Assembly that it was unfortunate that under the previous government, housing allocations saw a decline.
Despite the housing and water sectors being or seeing 3 ministers, a water-down department, the APNU-AFC could not create the conditions critical to the sustainability of the sector. So starved the public-private partnerships and burdened with punitive taxes, the distribution of titles and transports, the allocation of house lots declined dramatically between 2015 and 2020. There was a backlog of 68,000 house lots applicants in 2020.
Minister Kroll said with much needed investment in the housing sector, the government was able to meet the demands of the people. He added that to ensure access to the house lots, the government has been building a number of new road networks.
We have completed infrastructure works in more than 50 new housing schemes since August 2020. More than 23 kilometers of highways, 4-lane highways have been completed, and works are in progress on the Schooner to Crane 4-lane and the Great Diamond to Busby Dam Craig.
Meanwhile, in the water sector, access to potable water increased to 97% on the coastland, with more than 35,000 residents nationwide receiving access to potable water for the first time over the past 3 years, the minister said. And according to both ministers, access to treated water on the coastland will increase from 52% to 90% by 2025. In the aviation sector right now, commercial airline pilot turned politician Lyndon Hospital has announced his decision to resign as government advisor on aviation, as he moves ahead with plans to start a new local airline, Eldorado Air. Schumann, who is a former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly and is the leader of the Liberty and Justice Party, announced today that his letter of resignation from the government position took effect on the 9th of January. Mr. Schumann has since indicated his future plans to President Irfan Ali, and he said his decision to form his own airline marks another step in supporting the development of the country. He offered thanks to the government of Guyana for providing him with the opportunity to serve as an aviation advisor to the government. He explained that with his decision to form a new airline, he would not want to remain in the government position, since it would be a conflict of interest. The new airline is expected to start up operations by the end of August this year. Earlier this week, Schumann was appointed to the Law Reform Commission. He is likely to continue in that role. He has not released details about a new airline or the proposed routes. Before returning to Guyana from Canada to get involved in the development of his community and eventually become involved in politics, Schumann worked as a commercial pilot for several years in North America.
Are you looking to start or advance your career with one or more of our world-class associate, bachelor, or master's degrees in 14 specializations from the comfort of your home worldwide? Then look no further than the University of Excellence Management in Business, UEMB. We are affordable, accessible, flexible, multi-world class, internationally accredited and locally recognized by NAC Guyana as a tertiary degree granting college. For more details on our no strings attached to 60% scholarship and our payment plan, please call 225-1395, 225-1397-9, 681-3434, or 618-3434. Visit our administrative office in the Critchlow Labour College Front Building, Wolford Avenue, Georgetown, Guyana. Progressing to a degree is as easy as ABC with UEMB. Deal with the best and forget the rest.
Imported frozen meat and food products, fresh produce and pet supplies, freshly made bread. Rotisserie chicken and patties are also available daily. Shop in comfort today at Foodmax and let our courteous staff assist you in satisfying your shopping needs. Foodmax, the fresh food specialist.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Look who's in the mix now. The new Buster Soda Water. 0 calories, 0 sugar, 0 artificial flavors. 100% refreshing. Taste Buster Soda Water today. Buster Soda Water. Now available for only $120.
With your regional and international news tonight, I'm Svetlana Marshall in the region. A Kenyan court on Friday ruled a plan to send police officers to Haiti to lead a UN-approved mission was unconstitutional, throwing into doubt the future of an initiative aimed at tackling gang violence in the Caribbean nation, Reuters reported. An opposition party in October challenged the government's decision to send 1,000 officers to address a deepening crisis in Haiti, where gang violence killed nearly 5,000 people and forced around 200,000 people from their homes last year. Kenya had hoped to have its officers in Haiti as soon as this month, after the United Nations Security Council approved the mission in October, but a court issued a stay on the deployment shortly after. The High Court judge said that under Kenyan law, the authorities could only deploy officers abroad if a reciprocal arrangement was in place with the host government. Any further action or steps taken by any state organ or state officer in furtherance of such a decision contravenes the Constitution and the law and is therefore unconstitutional, illegal, and invalid, the judge ruled. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro warned on Thursday that a deal with the political opposition for elections to be held later this year was in danger of collapse after what he has described as conspiracies against him. Reuters in a report explained that last year, the government of Maduro's ruling socialists reached a deal with the political opposition over talks in Barbados to hold elections sometime during the second half of this year. The deal caused the United States to temporarily ease economically debilitating oil sanctions on the crude exporting country. U.S. officials stressed that the relief was dependent on Caracas lifting bans on opponents holding public office, as well as releasing political prisoners and unjustly detained Americans. Venezuela has yet to lift a ban on Maria Corina Machado, the opposition's presidential candidate. This week, Maduro said conspiracies against him and high-ranking government officials were dismantled last year, with nearly 36 civilians and military personnel detained. Later, U.S. officials said they were concerned about their arrests, which included members of the political opposition. And finally tonight, international news. The UN's top court rules that Israel must take all measures to prevent genocidal acts in Gaza, but stops short of ordering an immediate halt to operations, according to the BBC. Judges at the International Court of Justice delivered an interim ruling in South Africa's genocide case against Israel. Reacting to the ruling, the Palestinian foreign minister says the judges ruled in favor of humanity and international law. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will continue to defend itself and citizens while adhering to international law. A verdict on South Africa's allegation of genocide is not expected for years. Israel strongly denies the accusation, calling it baseless. Meanwhile, U.S. media report that the head of the CIA is due to meet Israeli, Qatari, and Egyptian officials in the coming days to discuss a new potential ceasefire in Gaza. Israel retaliatory attacks in Gaza have killed 25,900 people, mostly women and children, the Hamas-run health ministry says. The current war began after a mass attack southern Israel on October 7, killing about 1,300 people, mostly civilians, and taking 240 hostages. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Svetlana Marshall reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.